Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the It. Welcome to Derry, episode three spoiler review. I, I'm the Slinger Tress now. I'm joined by.
I am the graveyard Taylor Field.
I think I figured it out. I think because I've had problems with this title before. Because honestly, whenever we review it, I keep wanting to say like It Chapter 2 or Chapter 1 or Chapter 3 or something. But I think because I usually say hello, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, because me I say welcome and then we say welcome, like it's just the title says it, just grinds my gears. But yeah, we are here to review episode 3, obviously a day late. We should finally now, I know, because last week was because there was the holiday, I think there was, right, for there was some sort of holiday, it bumped an episode or bumped it a little bit later, and then we had Extra Life, which also we'll talk about probably on like the next newscast we're all together. Thank you, everybody. Big success. Probably the funnest streams we've ever done, like for Extra Life wise. And GV Day, like these last two live streams that we've been going multiple days, not multiple days, but multiple hours, were tons of fun. And we hit our goal, 1,500, raised 20,000 for BC Children's Hospital over these 9 past years. So we thank everyone that donated, watched, helped us out. But yeah, we'll do a bigger thank you. There'll be another video probably made and stuff like that. So, but thank you anyone that did come out over the weekend and support us. We really appreciate it. So that's why it is a bit later. If you're wondering why on the Monday usually, or why on the Tuesday, we will get back to from now on. Should be on time. I don't think there's any major holidays or schedules or anything like that. So look out for that. Kirkland and Dylan recording side quests right now, so you get that later on this week, or I guess tomorrow. Taylor and Kirkland got a weekly geek, which you guys got some fun topics to talk about. Saying tomorrow, and then
Is
Running
it
Man is
tomorrow
this week.
already?
Yeah, because it's
Whoa.
Tuesday.
The
The actually
Tuesday.
throws it all off. So, yeah, so it's the Tuesday, and then Running Man, and then we'll be back with it, and then yeah, there'll be a bunch of other stuff. You can go if you're a patron right now, vote. We only got 2 submissions, so please, especially thank God we have two. Another one, thank goodness to Maddie. But the video game movie retrospective is happening. It is November. Mike had just put in Minecraft, and that was it so far. Luckily, Maddie put in Doom. But if you're a patron, please go put in a movie, and then the producers will vote. But yes, we're back to talk about it. Obviously, Taylor, you weren't here, so what did you think? You did kind of a double feature here this last little bit. What do you think of a little bit of two, but then obviously primarily three in a non-spoilers way? Even though I'm sure most people have seen it by now, so we keep our non-spoilers pretty short, I imagine. So
Yeah, episode 2. So I was coming off of a big high with that first episode, and I wasn't sure what we were going to get in that second episode. And so episode 2 rolls around, and yeah, I really liked I guess I can say it, but Halloran, Dick Halloran, his character officially, like, boom, he's in here, and I am eating everything up with him. I'm really loving it,
mm,
and I think I'm loving it even more because we did our Shining retro, and just having that character so like heavy on my
right,
mind right now, and just having being able to, I don't even have to headcanon it. I can think in my mind like, okay, this character before he dies in The Shining, he's here, he's in Derry doing shit, and I just really
doing
like this.
shit.
I think it's super awesome, and I like how we got the formation of our new crew of characters too. That's coming together here, and um, yeah, we get a little bit more kind of context on what's going on the military base, which is kind of exciting. But yeah, ultimately though, once we get into this third episode, I was really jiving with it. There was a lot going on that I'm stoked with. The military storyline narrative, I'm really enjoying that. The stuff with this new group of kids, I'm really happy with this group of kids too. Um, and it's just it's really working for me. There was something that was shared. I think it was Super Bad Mike in the Discord. He was talking about how, oh, or maybe it was S-Pubs, I can't remember. I apologize. It was the amount of time that Skarsgård has playing the clown Pennywise in the show. At least in the first 4 episodes, I think it was. The first few episodes. It wasn't the entire season. But it was definitely a very small amount. And, I saw that. I definitely was like, okay. But going through these episodes and getting the different levels of fear and like craziness, like I'm really okay with it. Very happy with them not just giving us the clown all the time and in every
Mm,
single episode. Like, don't do that. Build up the hype and the anticipation. And so, it's not a spoiler, but when you get to a moment where you get like a 2-second glimpse of like the Skarsgård in the clown suit, it's like, oh fuck, like it's the real deal, and you feel terrified because it's like, oh, the OG, like he's right here, and not just one of the terrifying little illusions that's present instead.
Hmm.
Even though a lot of the illusions so far have been very frightening and freaky, especially on this episode, you get some crazy stuff going on that I was really enjoying. There in episode 1 and 2, I feel like there was a consistent theme with birthing. In that second
Mm.
episode, that was a really disgusting sequence
Oh yeah, that was
with
great.
Ronnie, and just I was like, holy shit, that felt like some Nightmare on Elm Street stuff.
Well,
So
definitely the whole like it's all like the movies even felt like that, but this season definitely feels like that a lot. So
yeah, but I'm eating this up. This is actually becoming one of my favorite shows right now. I'm loving this. I'm really loving it. I'm really excited just for next Sunday, just to see where we're at. And the way this episode concluded, oof, it sent chills down my spine. It had like goosebumps. So and I didn't think like this plan that was enacted here. I didn't think it would come true. I didn't think it would work. But it left a very intense cliffhanger. And again, too, just Dick Halloran's character dealing with the major and stuff like that. Just there's just little things here that I'm giddy about. I'm really excited about. So this episode was fantastic.
yeah, I enjoyed this. So far, I'm enjoying the whole show so far. I think the way I'd rank them right now is last week was my favorite. I'd put this week. I think this week and one are pretty equivalent. I think there's some strengths and weaknesses for both of them. I think there's some stuff we'll talk about in spoilers I was really excited to get to, and then they went over it really fast. I was like, oh, dang, that sucks. It wasn't like a con, but I was like, it felt like the weight of the situation that happened was kind of a tease, kind of like we talked about in episode one, where it ended on not a cliffhanger, but a big thing. And you weren't here for the discussion last week, but at the beginning of the episode, when they made it look like it was a dream sequence, I was like, oh no, did that not happen? And then they're like, oh no, it did. That kind of felt like this week where they did somewhere, oh, something really crazy is gonna happen with one of our characters next week, and then very quickly we move over that, so that's fine. So yeah, again, I like that the kids are starting to form a connection, but again, they're not the losers club in a sense where they're not best friends other than Beverly that are together and figuring this all out. They're friendly, but there's like a uh, I don't know, an egregious sort of relationship between them, especially Ronnie and Lily. You know, they're not they're just kind of working together because they have to. They're not friends. So that was good. Yeah, I agree. I like all the Dick Halloran stuff, and I like the guy that plays Dick Halloran. He's been playing a good job. Yeah, and I liked a thing they revealed actually with James Remar character. I wasn't sure what we're gonna get with him. I thought because we've seen this many times, you know, in Little Worlds, but Oppenheimer, Pineapple Express, where he is just generic army guy, you know, and I thought that's what he was gonna be, and they revealed some about his story that I think makes that character more interesting and makes the show more interesting because I think there's a big spoiler thing that we've talked about a few times that kind of gave us an answer here, and I'm not neither for or against it. I was just like, okay, I wonder what the situation is going on with this because that's not something that's really talked about in the movies, but also the show's a little bit different. And yeah, it's funny that I feel like if they are doing if we get season 2 and 3, it feels like they're already stringing those together. So no, I enjoyed this episode. I don't think it was as good as last week. Last week I really enjoyed it. I think the scares were um I think it seems like every episode we get two big scare sequences. I think the first scare was good up until a point, and then I think the second scare was had some really rough effects going on here. Like, I understood why they did the effects because it concerns riding a bicycle, but man, these kids did not look good on said bicycle. You know, it was I don't know. It took me right out of it, so I couldn't really connect with the scene. So, but I thought the episode ended strongly, and yeah, I think we still talked about that where I think the Discord, we talked about that too. People back and forth to how they feel. I'm completely fine the pacing of Pennywise, even still now, like being in the show. Because again, technically, Pennywise is the entity or the whatever it is, and then this entity is all over the show, right? Like every time there's a scare thing, that is Pennywise, just in a
Mm-hmm.
different form, right? And again, it's two reasons: one, Bill Skarsgård is a lot more expensive nowadays, and two, the like I said before, the movies were like that too. If it's 2 hours, he's not in them that much, so it's a show version of it. So, anything else non spoilers? No, he's shaking his head no. Oh, he muted himself twice. Look at that. This is great. He's saying no. So I'm going to throw to an ad break and we're going to be right back and go full spoilers after this. We are back. Taylor's looking like me when I unplug my microphone. My goodness. You're here. You're
Holy shit,
back.
my mouse is just like, I
Uh
don't turn
oh.
my computer on for like 2 weeks. and it just shits the bed. Oh
Promises
my
that Wi-Fi
god.
was going to be good, but
It's
who knows
definitely
what's
not
going on.
Wi-Fi. This is computer related.
Okay,
Holy
we'll
fuck
see what
though.
happens. Where do you want to start?
Um, I would like to highlight for me this episode was Dick Halloran when they sent him into the skies. He goes up there with the major, and again this
What are you
ties
doing,
in.
Dick?
Yeah, this ties in with the head honcho, Dexter, Christian
Harry,
Slater.
James
Yeah.
Remar, not
Uh,
Christian Slater. Leave Christian Slater out of this.
um, so he sends him up there. He sends Halloran up there with the slingshot, which again, I too am really on board with that. I really like this kind of how his story is more than just a military leader,
And
but
apparently, a slingshot is just like the eternal weakness of Pennywise, because
mhm.
obviously Beverly uses that in the movies, and then now in this show, a slingshot takes him out in the scare. So I guess you just need a slingshot to take down this clown, you know?
Slingshot, yeah, more powerful than a gun, that's for sure.
Apparently, yeah.
Um, but yeah, the him taking that slingshot and then him uh, like sensing and being able to kind of like see where the entity is, all this kind of stuff. When it gets to the point where he's in the sewer and Pennywise's like caravan thing opens up and you just see the eyes and Pennywise is like, "Who are you?" It's like, "Holy fuck.
Yeah.
This is so ominous and intense." I was eating it by the spoonfuls. I love that sequence so much.
Yeah, it's that was a really good sequence because obviously I can't remember, like, the Stephen King books all kind of live in the same universe, and there is like the Dark Tower that sometimes brings elements from all of them, but there's never like a crossover sort of element, right? So this idea too of, as far as, and even if we're just working in the movie world, right? Don't even stick to the books or the Tim Curry one, just the movie one. Other than they kind of in chapter two hint that Bev kind of has some almost foresight powers, right? Where she can maybe sense some things that are going to happen before they happen. And even that's just like a somewhat of a premonition, right? It's not big. It's not like what Dick. He's like feeling objects. He's like a magnet for this stuff, as we've talked about with The Shining and our retrospective for Halloween. You can check that out, and just in general. So it is interesting. Where I feel like I don't know what is going to be. I know Dick could be a threat. I just don't know if they're going to actually interact. Like if Dick and the Pennywise are going to interact. But for the Pennywise perspective, it must feel kind of off-putting because obviously we got the next tales are in the 80s and then in the 2000s. Also, we don't know what's going to happen in the 1908 and after. But at least from what we've seen, he's never encountered someone with a just maybe full-on supernatural sort of ability. I'll call it what Dick has. So I think it's off-putting to him because that's not what he would be expecting, right? He wouldn't be expecting to find anybody that has any semblance of his power. I'm not saying Dick is any more powerful than what Pennywise could be, no, but the fact that it's somebody that could have any sort of slight percentage similarities to him as far as feeling some things that aren't there, these visions, and because the visions other kids and people feel are usually brought on by Pennywise, right? He's the one inducing them, where this is almost Dick. I feel like he's kind of almost like intercepting it. It's almost like like
Hmm.
Pennywise has accidentally Dropboxed his next visions or his layer, and he's like, whatever he said, like you said, like, who are you or what are you, and that was good. And I really do hope they interact. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but obviously Pennywise has interacted with adults in the Eddie Machete movies. So no, I thought that was a really good moment. And then yeah, when he wakes up, he's just on the plane, gonna fucking take down this whole plane of everybody. Like, Dirk, what are you doing? They're just. I think they maybe got to strap him down for some of these flights, but no, that was good. And he's obviously getting closer to. Oh God, not Mike, not Leroy. He's getting closer to Leroy, and
Yeah.
that's what's. It's very interesting. All this stuff as far as with these two, and I agree with you. My highlight was I forgot about that, and then with the James Remar, and I can't remember the character's name, but this episode started with a flashback of a boy going through the woods, seeing creepy stuff. I really liked the creepy, or no, he's in the
The
like
circus, right?
circus,
Yeah.
yeah, in 1908, which is funny because that's where it's like, okay, we've heard if they do a season three, it's gonna go there. So they're already kind of like weaving themselves in. So he's in the circus, very creepy, very dark. Andy Muschietti, the director of the It movies and a couple episodes in Flash, he was the one playing the piano. I'm not sure if you saw that guy, but
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
I
it's the
saw him. Yep.
director. So, but anyways, they get out of there. I think the creepy old guy with the missing eye was to me almost like creepy enough. Like like I get it. You want to be like otherworldly and something like a movie monster, but I got less scared when he turned into the gigantic monster, and I feel like that archetype and that design looks very similar to a lot of the other monsters that Muschietti likes, like
Hmm.
with that pregnancy one, with the one that Bev in chapter 2 when the old lady turns into that big naked creature. He likes some very like skinny like skinny arms and legs with kind of like a bigger rounder body than like a long neck, so the designs are kind of similar. So to me, that, and especially it's not like the kid was like whatever dude, like the kid was already super fearful of just the almost naked old man with one eye. I to me, I actually thought that was fine because that's almost, it's like when he's Pennywise, right? It's almost more realistic. That's just this. Imagine that you bump into this guy at the circus and he's just following you over and over. But they obviously, because I still think you could have that effect of shooting the guy with the slingshot and it runs away. But that's what I guess I would say. Well, how did you feel about that scare before I moved in that direction of the old circus man with one eye?
Um, I the CGI was definitely a lot, but I really liked it. I liked how his friend, I can't remember her name, but she is a
I'll try and get it.
an indigenous uh culture, and she's there, and it's that's something again, we'll break that down later, but I'm really liking again how uh the local uh,
So he's Francis, and then I will
Francis,
find
okay.
her name.
So her and her community, her culture, like they're so familiar with this, right? They know that Pennywise is a thing here.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like that a lot. And so when she's freaking out, like, don't go in there, don't go in there, he goes in there. And then, yeah, the whole setup, though, where it's just all these trees, and then the creepy one eyed man was like leaning out from every different tree. That was freaky as hell. That was really, really well done. But yeah, him transforming into the long, skinny, scraggly golem like thing, I just took it as okay, well, he's not playing around anymore. He's in his killing mode. This is him. He's obviously going to go for the kill. So he gets a little bit more Pennywise. Rose is the name.
Rose,
Rose. That's
Francis
right.
and Rose. Rose is the one
Francis
that
and
they is the
Rose.
girl that saves them, and that to me was a big thing. Of it was the twofer of one because we had talked about this that um, we've been talking about with these kids, right? Because obviously we met the first kid that was in the car, the OUT, he died, demon baby, whatever. And then in episode at the end of episode one, all those other kids dies. Also, we've met a couple other. We obviously know the black kid in here, Mike, or it's Will Hamlin. He becomes Mike Hamlin's dad, but he dies in a fire. So that would kind of make sense of okay, he like he might know about Pennywise, but if he dies in a fire, he's not gonna be able to tell his son about it, right? Don't know
Hmm.
what the excuse is for Leroy, because Leroy is in chapter one. He's the one that's with Mike, like putting down the cow with like the bolt and whatnot. So maybe he just forgets he's old, or maybe he just writes off like it doesn't matter. But we have talked about the other kids of okay, we kind of assumed, like we kind of thought with the Losers Club that was the big deal of they got away, right? Somehow these kids band together, they beat Pennywise, they survived. But now already we've seen that there's one person that maybe they weren't intimately like hunted down by Pennywise or this entity, but they did survive and strike it, and they are there 40 years later, right? And that's what we're wondering. So that does give some chance of these kids surviving. You know, like obviously we know that Will Hamlin does because he has to go on and have Mike, but some of these other people, maybe they might survive and move. And
Mm.
again, I don't know why the losers, I guess they feel they're just that strong. They feel like they make a pack and got to come back to stop it. But that's where now with them showing that Rose has been alive and at least interacted with the entity, that I hate that the entity, when I say that, I think of fucking Mission
Mission
Impossible.
Impossible.
But like, I'll just say it. When they interact with it, that she survived, right? So that's
Yeah,
where
and
some of these kids
I
could still survive too.
I
Our main character
give
kids.
I give Rose the absolute edge though, considering she already knew about it,
Hmm.
and she clearly knows a lot more than she's let on, and knows how to handle dealing with this thing. So I think going into adulthood, it gives her a huge home field game advantage than
Yeah.
any of what these kids have, right?
Yeah, but it
So
still showed a kid can survive. She's still a kid though, right? She may
she
know
was
about
still a
it, but she's
kid,
still
but I
young.
think again too, like I absolutely know that she's aware as a character of this thing's origins, of how
Hmm.
it gets contained, and probably the 27-year cycle, everything along those lines. I think she is familiar with, and so that's where she has the absolute edge of survival over those other kids. Yes, like this is, we've seen kids survive, so kids will definitely survive. But I just think she's on like a god tier where she's just like, oh, I know where not to go and how to deal with this thing. So again,
So
she
does
was
that put
not
all the
afraid at
loser
all.
clubs? Does that put all the loser club on a god tier as well too? They all survive Pennywise in it, chapter one.
They did, and they got to a point where they really were able to learn a lot. And I can't remember his name. You said it.
Mike
He was the one
Hanlon?
who no, yeah, he stayed behind,
He
right, while
does, yeah,
everyone
and he
else
gets
left,
a
and
little
so he
crazy.
figured
Yeah.
out the ritual and figured out how to
Mm-hmm.
put it back in the box, right? Which is
Yeah.
interesting when I'm pretty sure the military folks they're trying to figure that out, and they want to not just get the entity, but probably learn about this ritual, get the stones or the pillars or whatever it is that they need to kind of contain Pennywise or whatnot. But I like how I can't just call him Christian Slater 'cause I can't remember his fucking other name,
James
but
Remar, Harry,
James Remar, yeah,
Francis. He's got three
Francis.
names. Yeah.
So I like how when they clarified, like, he left and he came back, and he's like, then he started to remember while he was gone. He
Yeah.
didn't remember anything, and I like that, and it just makes the military aspect a little bit more powerful because, like, it's definitely a self preservation, a self defense kind of mechanism that Pennywise can employ. So them being here and threatening, like I'm curious what is that going to lead up to when Halloran's like, hey, we were supposed to see it, but it saw us back, and so what is it going to lead to? Something bad is going to happen because of this,
Yeah.
and
He
I like
already
that a lot.
Yeah, and he was already insinuating that like maybe this isn't a good idea. Maybe we should just kind of stop. Like we did. It kind of was the Ian Malcolm thing, right? We asked, could we do it before we asked why we should do it, right? And I feel like he's starting to get that because I feel. Obviously, has the powers he's drawn to, he's using it. But now I feel like when you see Pennywise and a little bit of the version of the Deadlights, it might go, okay, maybe we misthought this, and maybe it's something we can't contain. And I feel that's maybe the route they're going to go because we talked about this before of okay, where it's going to end. Last week they talked about they're going to the idea is to use this as a weapon against Russia, right? Because it's in that era. So of course, just like Everett, me and Dylan talked about this last week in the review, where uh, I said I'm kind of sick of it. It happens in superhero projects, but I feel like there's so many projects. Like you watched The Gorge this year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like same thing of what's going to be down there? Oh well, it's a government weapon. I'm very tired of the subplot of it's what we do this big evil thing. Well, we're going to use it for the government. It's like okay, I get that, but I feel this has to break down, right? We've kind of also said that with it chapter one. If all this military and all these people know about it, it feels odd that it is just still kind of just working
Well,
seamlessly by itself, right?
that's
So
the thing. So something happens and they back off, think we can't
yeah.
contain this, and they leave it, which is not very characteristically correct for the military of the United States. I feel like whatever happens, they lose their memory. They move. They leave the area and then they forget about it, right? Like so.
Or
There's
they all
already
just
that.
die and they
Or
just
they all
say,
die.
or like government wise, they're like, oh, it was a training accident or an explosion accident, right? Something like that, which we've seen all the time. So, yeah, it could be that. So, but to go back before I forget, really liked both things of James Remar. One that he's been there and he's interacted with that, and I don't know if he's remembered that yet. I feel like he didn't let on if he did. He remembered because he was starting to remember the area, and he said when he looked down the document, because obviously Rose's people are trying to go against this digging, kind of stop it, and he's saying we're going to push forward because it means something good. He said when he saw the name, he started to remember her, but he didn't say that he remembered like a scary old man that became a monster, right? So
Yeah.
I wonder if he has remembered that and he's just writing that off as I was a dumb kid with bad memory, or if that's going to come back later. I almost wonder if he gets too close to whatever they're digging to, and that maybe sparks some memories, right, to kind of jog that back, and that'll be interesting. So I liked it both. That it seemed like he had a connection with Rose. They kind of already insinuated it was maybe semi-romantic or like a school crush because as he was leaving, he was like looking at her longingly, and then they flash back to him as a kid, like looking at her longingly, right? So I guess there's maybe some sort of, one that got away sort of feeling because he was moving. But no, I liked it made me now more. I always liked James Remar because I feel like he is a character actor that a lot of times does the same thing, but I like what he does. But now it's given me some more connection with this character of okay, he was in the past, and now he's kind of connected with Rose in this way that, you know, we'll have to see how it goes down. Right now they're opposed, but maybe he will go with her. And maybe that's the excuse, right? Maybe they're going to use the excuse of, we don't want to upset the community, so we're going to stop digging and not do anything else. Maybe they'll kind of use that as a scapegoat of like, oh, for the people, we've decided not to move forward with this project, but they really know something's bad. And maybe in a shitty way, kind of like leave them with the bag, right? Like leave the instead of maybe that's it too. They just get scared to go any further instead of even dealing with the problem. They just leave it and then they leave Derry to deal with it because they don't want any more people dying or whatnot, right? So
Yeah, yeah, that's true. And that'll be interesting when we see the Major kind of be pulled more into this, because when
yeah.
Halloran was like, the Major figured it out. Like, okay, you can read minds, and figured out you were one of the guys that was in the room that night when you were assaulting me. And I like that whole setup. And I like, he's just like, yeah, I can remember that feeling in the back of my head. Um, but I like that Halloran kind of picked him a little bit and was like, most people think about their family, they think about this or that, but in that moment, you were thinking, you were observant and you were analyzing, and that's
Mhm.
someone I don't want to fuck with.
Yeah.
And so I like, okay, now we're gonna see how this character is gonna square off against Pennywise, because when Halloran was in there, Pennywise was caught off guard and was like, "Who are you?" And then after about 5-10 seconds, Pennywise then starts dropping the fear tactic on him and making him panic and freak out. And so I'm curious to see how the Major's gonna do. If the Major doesn't have that fear factor, then I mean Pennywise, what's he gonna do? He can't do much. So when we get that kind of face off, I'm really looking forward to that.
Well, you can't do much to him, but always go after the ones you love, right? Because they didn't
Mm.
do this in the movies at all. And I think it happens in the book. Remember Bill? This happens in the Tim Curry series where he's married, and then when he comes back to Derry, obviously he's like a grown man. But it like kidnaps his wife and like makes his wife kind of like paralyzed and like comatose. Do you remember that one?
Oh
He has to
yeah,
like
yeah,
ride the bike to
yeah.
wake her up. So they didn't do that in the movies, but you could maybe stretch to that, right? Whether it's Will, whether it's the wife or any other people. So you could use that as some sort of way. Again, you got to be careful how far you go. Like the army one is the most tiptoey one because it's a big deal because they're doing dig sites against the army, but you also can't go too big because there's a sequel in 27 years where the kids the army's not there to help them. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
anything else about Rose or James Remar,
Mm,
Dick
well,
Halloran?
it'll be interesting to see if Rose manages to enforce the like land, like, hey, don't be coming into our sacred lands, kind of
Yeah.
thing, or whatnot, with the federal government. So maybe the government does intervene and says, hey, you guys got to back off here with your site surveys for a pipeline. And like, ultimately, like, you leave Derry, you start to forget about everything that happened there. So I think that'll just play off into Rose's advantage.
Yeah. Yeah, so the other thing I was going to say with the kids, I was very surprised last week. Seemed like Lily going back to the asylum was going to be a really big story. I said it to Dylan, I was like, oh man, a whole episode of Lily in the asylum. You can do two things. One, you can just pop off with different type of scare scenarios and Pennywise taking advantage. And two, I thought that was same with Rose survived. Maybe we could meet someone else because in the movies we didn't get this. We had Henry Bowers, but what if there's other people in that asylum that have also been like affected by Pennywise before too, right? That maybe they didn't get caught in Aiden, but they're in there like Henry Bowers was, where his life's just completely messed up, right? So I thought, oh, there's tons of room for good scares and story potential. No, we didn't see any of that. None of that was a thing in this episode. So I was kind of surprised that last week they kind of used it as a cliffhanger, like, oh, Lily's going in the asylum, and really didn't give us much at all,
Which
So
shout outs to Bowers as well, because we get to see this is his grandfather
yeah, the
or
piece of shit
whatever, and this
guy, like the
he's definitely a piece of shit, but it sucks because he meant well at the start. Like he wasn't gonna arrest the Ronnie's dad because it's like, hey, there's no evidence, he didn't do anything. And then these two idiots come up and are like, hey, you need to, we all know he did it, you need to do it, or we're gonna vote someone in that is gonna do it. And it forces his hand, which sucks because he was trying to
yeah,
be a
but
good cop.
this is what me and Dylan talked about, which I thought was I'm waiting for the scene was weird. They did that, but then he also the bartender kicked the black guys out of the bar.
That's because, well, that's because he asked them to get kicked out.
The bar, like the cop, like
The
like
cop, yeah,
yeah,
Bowers, he asked
yeah.
the bartender to kick him
So that's
out.
what I mean. He like they talked to him, and he was kind of like, well, I'm not just gonna arrest him because he's, like they were pretty much just saying he did it. He needs the evidence, blah blah blah, and they kind of make him look like a good cop. Well, like, no, I'm gonna follow by the book. I got to do this. But then 10 seconds later, they make him racist. So I didn't understand what they were going for in that scene of, oh, he's a good guy. But then those people that aren't white, get them out of my bar. It was like. What, like he didn't say that. He just whispered to the bartender said, "You got out of there." So I feel like and even this episode now, I feel like they're making him more to be a piece of shit guy. I don't know what the deal is, why he wasn't arrested. I guess maybe he still was a piece of shit that wanted to follow stuff by the book. But yeah, do you remember him from any horror franchise that we've retro before? I told Dylan this, but he
No.
didn't get it. He's William in Saw 6, the like
Oh, I'm not
pharmacare
getting
guy.
that.
Dylan
Jesus
didn't either.
Christ.
Saw 6 is my favorite next to Saw 1, so, and I like that one. But yeah, he's like he's Kramer's uh what is it, healthcare insurance guy that like screws him over. And like,
Okay.
John, that's protocol, we don't. Yeah, so there's that going on. Let's see here. Yeah, so we got to talk about that. Yeah, so we got to the ending, kids making a plan, they're getting more get together. That's good to see. We get the boys kind of bonding. Lily and Ronnie are kind of got this plan to get the dad out, make it seem like he didn't kill these kids, which is obviously a good thing. They go to the graveyard, which I just knew, okay, well, this isn't going to go well for them. Like, if you go anywhere dark in a It movie, it's not great. But in a graveyard, nonetheless, not looking good. I liked the scene in concept. I really liked the end when Will was in, like, the crypt and just the Pennywise hand in the photo. It was kind of surprised. I thought the photo was going to be, like, a big close-up photo, but he was, like, super far away. I was like, what happened? Because it literally was like he grabbed him and he took the photo, right? So I guess Pennywise could have just extended his arm out, but it just felt... It felt a little odd in that sense, but I liked the scene except for once they got on those bikes. Once they got on the bikes and the kids were shot up and it's like their waist and they're going like this, you could tell they're just on a lot somewhere with a green screen, with smoke. And if they weren't, they had to be because they're biking, but just, it looks like the old school when people were driving, like, hey, can you, how's your day? And like, you'd see the background of like the 60s movies when it's just,
Yeah.
okay, none of that's real. So that's one that took me out. Like, I liked the ghosts. I thought it was like a fun idea, but maybe it got too big. Again, if it's a budgetary thing, what I would have done is just kept the creepy old man creepy and then use all the budget for that monster on this bike thing, because it just, I couldn't lock out of that shot. Because and anytime they went to somebody, it was that same shot and it was this blue sky. It was, I don't know, it was looking
It
a
looked
little
like they were going to
funky.
float away on their bikes or something.
100%. It did not look like they were on actual ground. It looked
No.
very ET like. But the idea of the dead kids popping up trying to get them, that was fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And they were freaky and whatnot, but none of them could hold that camera for the
No.
fucking life of them. Jesus. Like if I successfully got that photo, I'd be hanging on to it like crazy. But again, it was a nice octane high action sequence with these ghosts just following them and whatnot. But for me, what just really got me giddy was when Will was all alone in the crypt, and you just know Pennywise is coming around and getting in there. And yeah, I for a split second thought that he did get killed only because of just that first episode. It just kind of sets the bar like, okay,
Yeah.
no one's really safe.
Yeah, I thought there was a chance until I remembered that he's Mike's dad from the It movies. So I thought, okay, he has
Yeah.
to be safe, right? But yeah, for a second I thought, okay, he gotta get taken out. That was it. But no, he's alive, and we heard his voice, we saw his eyes, we saw his hand, then we saw a photo. I don't know if it's next. I feel like next week, if we don't see Pennywise, I bet the episode could like end with Pennywise. Like the same way this episode ended with the photo, it would end with like a full shot. Because then because how many is this? 8 episodes, right? I think it was. Let me take a look here at the GB schedule. It is 8 episodes. So, wait a second. It's episode. Go away, calendar. Okay, yeah. So to me that would make sense. Where episode 4 you kind of end with maybe a first full look of Pennywise, and then you proceed to get more of them throughout. So that's what I think is going to happen. I think that's all the notes I got here for this episode. Anything else we haven't touched upon? You are muted if you're talking.
Oh my fucking god. No, I
Pennywise
think
is Taylor Fear just muting his mic.
that is, yeah, god damn. No, I don't think I got anything else. I think I highlighted everything, and most of the stuff I was highlighting was just the Dick Hannaran stuff. But again, yeah, the graveyard bikes, you talked about that already. But
It's Dick Halloran, not Hannaran. I think I heard you say that a couple times, and I was like, am I wrong?
Halloran?
Halloran. Halloran.
And what did I say?
Hannaran.
I said Hannaran. There's a
Yeah.
very high chance
So
I
it's-
said Hannaran. It's been
No, you
fucking
did
me
multiple
away.
times. Hall, and then O, and then ran with an extra
Okay.
N. So
I was
there you
typing
go.
Dick Holloway on Google, and I was like, why can't I find this fucking guy's information? Does not get anywhere.
What comes up when you search Dick Holloway? Dick Holloway. Okay, let's see. Oh, who is this? He's
Yeah,
an
see,
actor.
like this isn't what I'm looking for.
Oh, he's still alive. He's
He's
a
in it. Welcome to Derry.
no, he's not. He's a Scottish writer, broadcaster, and cleric. Okay, cool. Good for.
Cool, cool.
I think he's still alive too. He's not. I don't want to confirm. I don't want to say for sure, but it looks like he's. Yeah, it looks like he's 91 and still kicking. So
Still
good
kicking.
for. And technically, he goes by Richard Holler.
Yeah, well, that's what you call them, right? Like someone's name is Richard, you call him Dick, or vice versa.
Yes, yes. So that
Just
like
doesn't
the
make
same
any
way
sense.
as like Dick Grayson is Richard Grayson, like his full name. But that's why.
So you could say Dick Reed. Oh no, Reed Dix. Reed Richards. So it'd be
Yeah,
Reed Dix.
I don't think you can shorten last names though. I don't think that's how that works. But Reed
Okay.
Dix, yeah, that's something. But just like the way there's like Richard Rider in the MCU, so there is a Dick Rider in or the Marvel universe.
Dick
That's one of the
Rider.
Novas. Yeah, no, that's why I always call Robin Richard. I don't call for a while in DC. They were really trying to get people to call him Rick, but that didn't really stick. Like Rick Grayson, it didn't really. But Richard's fine. I've always said this. My last little rant here has nothing to do with it, so you can chop out now. But if they do the movies, I know it's his name. I just don't know in 2025 if you can have a character named Dick Grayson and it's like kids don't laugh and make fun of him. And Dick didn't like that. Like I guess maybe when Batman like Robin was created in 1944, so maybe just Dick wasn't a big slang back then. But now it just kind of seems a little funny. But
Yeah.
we'll see what Richard Holloway and Dick Halloran are up to next week. And yeah, we promise when we're back, it'll not be war.